Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Turf to the Terraces podcast. Tonight, I am joined by the forever present Scott Goodwin and Non League manager Neil Tooth. How are you doing, guys? You all right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good, Tommy.
Good stuff, good stuff. I want to start off first, before we get into anything, I want to start off by saying thank you to everybody who tuned into our very first episode last week. Really enjoyed it. Got some good views on the back of it, and our socials are starting to grow. So for anybody who hasn't, could you please like, follow, and subscribe? You'd be doing a massive favour. So I really appreciate that. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and also on Facebook and Twitter as well. So it'd be massively appreciated if you could jump on that. Eagle Eye viewers, maybe you'll see that Sam isn't with us tonight. Unfortunately, he does have another agenda tonight. He's got something else he needs to be doing, so he cannot join us, but that's not going to stop us moving forward. So without any further ado, I'd like to jump in with Neil. Neil, man, how's it going? Coming in on the back of leaving your role in Sutton Coldfield Town FC. How's it going?
It's been a great week, I'll be honest with you. It's hard. It's hard going. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? I've missed the lads. I've missed my staff. Saturday, my first Saturday off in Christ knows how many years. I just went to work and just forgot all about football. Just immersed myself in work and just kind of tried to stay off social media and just away for it for a week. But don't miss it. I'll be honest with you. I thought I would. But it's been a week, and I've had a lot of messages and a lot of well wishes. But yeah, I'm sat here comfortable with my decision and looking forward to what's ahead.
Oh, brilliant.
Neil, did you actually look on social media, or did you literally just go off it and just think I just can't do it?
On Saturday when the game was on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed away from it. But my two staff members who resigned with me, they were fully on it and sending me messages in our WhatsApp group every time a goal went in, and there was 8, so there was quite a lot that.
Yeah, we've seen that as well, because one was the 4-1 up as well, or something like that.
Yeah, they were 3-0 up, then 4-1 up, and drew 4-4. Yeah, so it was
I didn't realise that was your first game missing. I thought it was the second one.
No, it was my first one missing. Yeah.
Right.
Well, so you mentioned there that it was obviously your decision, and you and your team stepped down. Like, I've read that you've said that you can't. That's as far as you can take the team. Would you like to step on that? Is that true, or was there more behind the closed door?
It's a well worded statement that's not 100% accurate, but I suppose if you look in the whole scheme of it, then yeah, we had decided that we had taken them as far as not. I think taking them as far as you can. No, taking them as far as we wanted. Yes,
right.
They're two totally different things. So yeah. Listen, I've got a lot of time for the chairman. Got a lot of affection. I'm not gonna slag them off. But yeah, when you read the statement, it says, due to resources, we take him as far as you can. From an outsider, you look at that and think, you know what I mean? He hasn't got enough money to continue. That wasn't the case. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer. I've always said that if you shake your chairman's hand at the start of the season and he gives you a budget, you can't be moaning about it 8 weeks into the season if things are not going well. So it wasn't anything to do with the budget. They offered us more to stay, but we'd just come to the end of our line with having the desire to take it any further, and that's as simple as it is.
Fair enough. Well, that makes perfect sense. What sort of advice would you give to the person who's coming in next?
It's a great club. You know, it does. I firmly believe that it needs new blood. It needs new impetus, and we could have stayed there and we could have survived. And next year we could have probably done the same, but that just wasn't us. So it's a great opportunity for someone to come in, but I don't know. The advice I'd give it is same as anyone going into any job in non-league is enjoy it, but make sure you do it for the right reasons. And there's a lot of people who take jobs for different reasons and not always not always the right fit with the club and the manager, and vice versa. So yeah, so my advice is just to enjoy it. You can't give anyone long-term advice because it changes week to week, day to day, hour to hour in non-league. But I think it just make sure you're doing it for the right reason and enjoy it.
Oh, brilliant!
Just going back then, Neil, obviously to your time in football. You know, did you play for an academy team or did you?
No. I was bang average is I think what we would say.
You must have been a centre half.
I was a centre half, yeah.
Head on the stick.
Head on the stick, yeah. Well, fun. I don't know if you remember Ron Bradbury. Yeah. Who was the old Atherstone manager.
Yeah.
I was actually at Rushall, and I got sent to Atherstone on loan. And I was playing for Atherstone reserves, and I got called up into the first team to sit on the bench. And they had Mark Albrighton that was playing centre half from then, who went on to play, play a lot of league games. And it was at the old at Hinckley United, their old ground, and I was on the bench, and I think I was just there because I was 6'5" and I was fairly fit. So Ron weren't the biggest of the blokes, and he put me on, I think, for the last probably 5-10 minutes max, and I did all right. And the next game in midweek was away at Bromsgrove, and he started me, and I absolutely shit myself, if I'm honest. But in the first 10 minutes, the ball come to me as a centre half, and I took it down on my chest and just wanted to hoof it as far as I could up that slope at Bromsgrove. And I kind of mishit it, so it went out to the wide man with a little bit of swaz, as they say, a little bit of curl. Yeah. The winger took it down, one touch, took it inside and bent it round the keeper, and everyone's run over to me thinking, what a player. So then for the next probably 35 minutes, I was thinking, I'm not bad, mate, I can do a bit. And it weren't until I got in at half time that Ron grabbed me, and I was 6'5", and Ron's not the biggest of blokes, and he pinned me up against the wall and says, you head it and you kick it, and when you've got time, give it to someone who can play, because you can't. Yeah. And that was probably the best advice that I had. So yeah, so it was definitely a head on a stick, but I've batted around non-league, nothing.
So where did you go after that then?
So I spent time. I was at Rushall, then went to Atherstone, Samwell Borough, and then dropped down and played for teams like Blackheath Electra Drive, that was in the old the West Midlands division, and then after that I played for Bowlall, and then I ended up moving up to Doncaster. So I played for a couple of teams up there. I played for Hatfield Main and Rosington Main, so they're in the North East Counties League, which is the equivalent of the Midland Alliance down here. So but then I stopped playing when I was 28. I just kept getting real bad ankle ligament injuries, and I broke my left ankle when I was 16, and then as a result of that, my right ankle was always weaker. So I'd literally got chocolate ankles. I'd literally roll them just walking out to warm up. So yeah, decided to knock it on the head, and that's when I got into the coaching side.
So obviously,
I can relate to that.
As a player, then, was you like a leader? Was you like a natural leader? Was you a skipper? Or would you, when you was like 22, 23, maybe 24, was you thinking about, I tell you what, this coaching malarkey, No, never ever entered my head.
My dad, God rest his soul, he always said to me that I made up for my inferiorities as a player with how loud I was and how vocal I was, and I kind of masked how bad I was as a player, really, because I was always vocal and shouting and pulling people into place and giving without the armband, just kind of giving directions, but making myself sound important to kind of mask how not how poor I was, because I wouldn't say, the teams I played for, I did all right, but I was never anything special. But that's where I think the leader part of it came out kind of naturally, with being a big character and quite loud, yeah.
And understanding the game goes a long way with that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't. Someone's asked me that question before, and I can't pinpoint where it was. I fell into it accidentally, through injury, and the reason that I started coaching, if you like, and when I did my badges, is because I didn't want to be out of football. I couldn't play anymore, but I didn't want to be out of the dressing room. So that was the next stage. So it was my hand was forced because I couldn't play anymore that I went down that path, but it wasn't something that I thought about years before. It was something that I only thought about at that time when I found out that I wouldn't be able to, I could play, but I was losing that much time at work and and the pay wasn't great at football, so it wasn't covering me. So it was a decision that I made to kind of stop playing.
Yeah, cause I think I read somewhere that you was a number 2 for a while, and then someone said, I'll go for it as a number 1, and you haven't really.
Yeah. So when I lived in Doncaster, so Rosington Main, the team I played for, they had a really good youth setup, so they wanted me to take one of the youth teams, and they paid for my badge, they paid for my level 2, and I did that, and I worked with them for a year, and then Retford United came along and offered me to lead their academy, their under-19s and their academy. So I went and did that, and then I was only there for a few months, and the first team manager, Mark Shaw, asked me to get involved helping them, and I was doing both and enjoying it. And then Peter Duffield, ex-Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, played a lot in Scotland. He joined and he took over as manager from Mark Shaw, and he asked me to go in as his number 2. So that was the progression into it. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
And you were 28 at the time, is that right?
Yeah, 28. Yeah.
Wow. And then
that's
obviously,
decent, isn't it?
When did you take the Sutton Coldfield job then?
So
did you have 2?
I moved back down. So I moved back down to Birmingham in 2006. So 2006, I moved back down. And Chris Keogh, I'd known Chris for years, and he was actually my best pal, Neil Manson. He knew Chris, and obviously he played at Sutton. And Paul Houlihan had just left Sutton to go to, I think he went. Not sure if he went to Rushall or take the Rushall job, or if he went to Leamington. I think he might have gone straight to Leamington, but he took a job, and that Chris needed an assistant manager, so he asked me to go in and work with him, and that's where my love affair with Sutton started, if you like.
Well, they always say, don't they? Don't go back to an ex, and you've had 2 spells there now, haven't you? Yeah.
It's listen, I live in Sutton, and even now it's a club that I love. I'll always do anything that I can to help them. And as I say, I've had a very upset 11-year-old this week because he's just started senior school, and the senior school actually backs onto Sutton's ground. So it's been quite a thing for him with the older boys, where the older boys have been coming around and like ruffling his hair, saying, "Oh, you're Toofy, son." And so he's kind of like that for the first 3 months he's been at senior school, but he ain't got it now. So yeah.
Wow. So you definitely are you going to be looking to go back into management, or?
Don't know. Perfect. Honestly, I don't know. I had an offer to go in and help someone this week, and I've just told them that it's too soon. I want to spend a bit of time with my family. I want to spend time with my boy. We want to go. He's sending me messages about Albion games and away games and that, and we haven't been able to do that. We're big Albion fans, more for our sins. So do a bit of that. He plays county golf as well, and it's about time that I spent some time, probably not coaching him how to play golf because I'm awful. He's far better than me, but giving him that moral support and spending a bit of time with him. But I'm not done with football. I know there's another job in me. You know what I mean? I'm keeping. Well, me and my staff have done nothing but talk about it all week, and they've had offers to go back in as well. And I think we're just going to have a step back for a while and see what happens. I'm saying I want to spend a bit of time with the family, and I'm not ready to go back in. But if the phone rings tomorrow and it's the right job, then I'll probably go back in. So you can never say never. It's a drug. It's a passion. It's very, very difficult to walk away from it. Very difficult.
The thing is, as well, mate, you're a colourful character in the game, especially in the non-league game. For me, obviously, I've always been like an outsider looking in. You know what I mean? You always kind of look, at our level, step 4, step 3s, and stuff like that. For me, it'd be a massive shame if you don't go back into it. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it will, but I don't think there's many. I don't think there's many left like me. There's the game.
100%.
It's going a different way. You know what I mean? It is going a different way, rightly or wrongly. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna slag off these new age coaches with all the badges that ain't got a clue. And that's it's, you know what I mean? It's everything's done on a whiteboard. You know what I mean? It's all about ethos. It's all about philosophy. It's all about the project. It's non-league football, and you know, and I think managers like me are a dying breed, and I think it will come round. I think the cycle will come back round. But I think, you know what I mean, if I'm to go up in an interview against someone for a job, I'll talk about management, whereas they will talk about coaching and phases of play, and I'll talk about winning football matches and getting promotion and getting into playoffs and winning cups and being successful. And I think a lot of these football clubs now get blown away by the PowerPoint presentations and the badges and the St George's. You know what I mean? We've been here and I've played here, and this is my philosophy, and this is what I want to do. And it's kind of pushing the old heads, the experienced managers a little bit further down the pecking order, I think. Yeah,
no, I totally agree with that, mate.
Makes perfect sense, to be fair. One thing I wanted to get on just before we move into the good, the bad, the ugly is I've seen you mention about you being the Roy Keane of the non-league. Bit of a laugh there, but tell me about that. Why has that come about?
I have no idea. That was you guys that have put that up.
We thrown that. We created that, boy.
Mate, honestly, mate, it was me. The reason is, like, I've got a lot of time for it. We don't really know each other on a personal level, but we've obviously come across each other in the football world. I just think, like Neil's touched on, there's not many Neil Tooths around. There really isn't. You know, he's very direct. If the team play poorly, boom, he's there. You know, he'll tell them. There's no nancy-pantsy little pat on the back of your next week. He is a very direct manager. If you have a bad game, he'll literally tell you. If you have a good game, he'll tell you. And that's what I'm saying about Roy Keane. You know, he could go past someone in the street who's very good at football. Neil will say, I'm not too bad. You know, he can do better. So that's what I'm saying with him. He's very colourful. I do actually like Neil, honestly. I think he's brilliant. And I do believe, like you said earlier, there's so many dying. It's a dying breed, mate. There's probably 10 of you out there, and that's it.
Oh, mate, don't worry. I've sent that hashtag Non League Roy Keane to every single person I know. You know what I mean?
There you go.
And I'm not telling them it's anything to do with my tweets or my personality. I'm saying, see, I was a decent footballer after all. That enforcer. That's what I mean.
He's got some, you know, this kid.
What more do you need?
Yeah, it's Scott's right. You know what I mean? And I can't hide. I'm not, you know what I mean? And I know there's players out there, and I've had a couple of players this season where I've shouted at them, and you know what I mean? No, I don't like saying that, shouted at them. You know what I mean? I'm loud. I can't, even when I tried to curb it, and I've worked on it. You know what I mean? Because years ago when I was, one of the funny stories. I've got a couple, but we had a Lucozade machine in the tunnel at Sutton. And one game we'd played particularly poorly at half time, and I used to kick things. I've kicked water bottles, you know what I mean? I've kicked doors, you know what I mean? Just stupid stuff. Well, on this day coming past, I decided that I was going to kick the Lucozade machine, so I didn't kick it with my toes. I did the old, you know what I mean, foot through it, proper stamp down on it. I got my foot stuck in there. So the angry side of it. So I'm there hopping around and struggling to get, you know what I mean, players are walking past me and I'm struggling to get my foot out the Lucozade machine. Wow. So yeah, another one was.
Do you remember when we played you? I was coaching at Ilkeston. I was telling Matt just off air. I can't remember. We beat you, but I can remember we had a team talk, and next minute I just heard you, and mate, you went off. Absolutely off. Anyway, I've literally gone back out. I think I went to the bar, come back, and you're still at it.
Yeah. I kept him in.
And rightly so, by the way, because I said to my lads, listen, that's what it's all about. If you play poorly, that's what you're going to get. Anyway, you've come out, and you must have looked through me, so I just went, fuck me, mate, fair play to you. But you've looked through me, you was that angry. You might not remember it. And then
I don't remember walking out. I remember the game, and I remember keeping him in after, and I kept him in for ages.
Yeah.
And it's, oh God,
Neil, can you remember there was a tussle, wasn't there? I think there was a tussle with the players, like little handbags, and you come out to me and said, Scott, there was all right thinking they're hard and pushing around there, but they showed no fucking passion on the pitch. And that stuck in my head there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. It's. I've said, and there's. Listen, I've had over nearly 400 games in management. You know what I mean. So this is not every game, but there are games where your lads will just. You know what I mean. There's no fight in them. You know what I mean. And I always say that's not going around and smacking someone in the head. You know what I mean. That's not punching someone. That's not. I mean, going in the eye on someone, it's fighting for the right to, you know what I mean, being better than the man that, if you're a winger, being better than your fullback, you know what I mean, centre midfield, winning that battle, centre forward, beating the centre halves. And it winds me really up when you don't have any fighting there, but then all of a sudden there's a bit of tussles and you've got a lad, you've got your winger who ain't prepared to track back 20 yards to help his fullback out, but now he'll sprint the other side of the pitch
just to
get involved because it's a little bit of bravado and he wants to be there, which is fine. Yeah. But yeah, that particular game, it all kicked off, and that's what they were told, that they don't show. You know what I mean? They have to wait for something like that to trigger to actually have a burst of energy and get across. And I think on the back of that game, we actually went and won the next 4.
Did you?
So there's times. Listen, there's been times when I have gone in and absolutely tore strips off people, and you know what I mean, and told the team what I think of it when they don't deserve it. But it's just that little bit of keeping. It's old school, you know what I mean. It's when I work with Peter Duffield and when I work with Chris Keogh, you know what I mean. I've pulled my senior players. Like I used to have Justin Richards. Justin Richards, fantastic. What a leader, you know what I mean. Such an aura in the dressing room. But I pulled him before a game once. We was playing at home. I went, look, I said, I'm not bothered whether you go out there and score 4 in the first half. I said, when we come in at half time, I said, I'm going to absolutely tear into you. And he didn't. He knew the reason why, because there was a couple of young lads that were thinking, well, if Justin can get away with it, I'm going to get away with it.
Yeah.
So you use it, and that's management. That's not coaching. That's management, and that's what, you know what I mean. That's what I am. But yeah, it's the angry. You know what I mean. Oh God. I haven't been sent off for a number of years, but there was a couple of years where, you know what I mean, I was having goes at refs and linesmen and getting sent off, and you know what I mean, paying £500 fines and having an 8-game stadium ban. I was just like, for what? You know what I mean? Just to show, just to not live up to the bravado, but then you just have to set example and do it in other ways. And referees, you know what I mean, referees thought I had a reputation, so it was always half the battle, and your management style changes then, and it changes with players as well. So the shouting and the bawling, it's still there, and whatever job I get, you know what I mean, it will always be there. But it's
I was going to say, if that goes, Neil, then a part of your management goes, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's had to change and it's had to tone down because players have changed. You know what I mean? There's players now that you shout at, and once you shout at them, once you've lost them, you know what I mean? And it is, and you know what I mean? As I say, I've had players in the dressing room this year that I've been shouting, and I can see the bottom lip starting to go because they're young kids. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not me. I don't want to be a bully, but they've got to understand that they're playing for me. They're playing at my level. You know what I mean? And they'll go on and they'll play for better managers. They'll play for better coaches. But I wouldn't particularly change my management style at my level. When I went to Hensford, it had to change a little bit. I'm gutted that I did change it a little bit because I kind of went away from
you in it.
Yeah, I went away. I sold out a little bit, and I massively regret that. But in terms of if I do get another job and if I do go back in, it'll be me and it'll be what I'm all about. And I'm quite lucky that I've had a loyal bunch of players, and they know, you know what I mean, and they know. Some of them might be sitting there thinking, "Oh, here he goes again." You know what I mean? We'll just sit there and listen. But then there's some that will also be thinking, well, he's right. He's right to do that. So yeah, it's. I think, unfortunately, we are moving away from that. But that's my style. That's what my style's always been, and I think it'll always be.
And it's worked for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has to a certain degree. As I say, at Hensford, I changed.
If you do set like a learning style and a level of discipline from day one, these players can go on to be a lot better people, a lot better players later in the career from having that grounded.
Yeah, I've always had a couple of mantras that I kind of live to, and it's never ever personal. You know what I mean? I've never ever I can call a player all the names under the sun. You know what I mean? In that dressing room and tell him how poor he's been and tell him he's let us down. As soon as I walk into the bar after, it'll be, come on, let's have a drink. You know what I mean? What goes it stops there because it's part-time football. It's semi-pro, and you can't. You know what I mean? The players are there to enjoy themselves, and as much as they're there to do a job and you're there to do a job, I've witnessed managers that have come into, you know what I mean, have come into bars after and they've gone and sat on their own and they've ignored their players. And listen, there's a couple of times that I've gone and sat with my staff away from them, not because I feel that I'm angry and I don't want to mix with them, but sometimes you just judge the room and think, you know what, let them have a chat over there on their own. We'll go over here and we'll have a chat. But it's never personal. You know what I mean? And if ever it has got to a point where I've gone over the top, I've made sure that player's been pulled into the office and we've had the chat one-on-one and sorted things out.
Oh, brilliant. Like it. Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, the last sorry, I mentioned the Roy Keane thing a bit the last part on this, but I saw your operations manager on the day-to-day as well. What's the transferable skills there? Like, obviously managing bars, is it punch pubs?
Yeah. I work for a pub company, so I'm managing people. I've got a pub opening down in St Neots where I've been these last few weeks. So obviously I don't shout on ball and throw bottles at them because that's not right in the work environment. But
not yet.
I'm a manager. You know what I mean? You manage people. You've got different characters there. You know what I mean? You've got chefs that want everything done right and everything sparkling new, and then you've got bar staff that are kind of using you just for a bit of spare cash to their loyalty. You know what I mean? They're not going to have that loyalty towards you. And then you've got managers that run your pubs for you that have targets, and very similar. If you know what I mean, if the pub's not performing well, then you'd look to kind of not manage them out, but you've got to manage that pub, and you've got to make sure that you've got the right people in your pubs, same as you've got to make sure you've got the right people in your football team. And that's where I think the skills are transferable, and I do go across. But on the flip side of that as well, I put a lot of the stuff into from what I do at work into the football as well. Like the company that I work for, a fantastic company, and we do a lot of motivational stuff, and you know what I mean, a lot of team building things, and make sure that we share the love, if you like. There's a lot of praise and kind of not backslapping for the sake of it, but you know what I mean, if someone does a good job within your company, you get recognised for it, and I think that's it's important to do that in football as well.
Well, discipline and recognition are key anywhere out there. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
So we move on from that section. That was meant to be a warm up. We've been warming up for ages. But before we kick off, Scott is very generously powering all of this through SG Pathway, which is an academy, and I know you wanted to mention a little bit about them. So, in terms of what they do, did you want to say anything, Scott?
You just crack on, mate. I don't want to talk about my company, but you do it for me.
No, fair enough. Well, yeah, okay, we'll move on then. But yeah, with SG Pathway, it does power this podcast. So we are extremely generous, myself and Sam, and obviously all the listeners that tune in as well. But so we'll move on to the first half then, and hopefully this takes us into a good side of the game. And Neil, you can shed some light into the good side of the game from your perception, whether it be full level or non-league level, wherever you see it.
Well, yeah, let's talk about non-league. I think the good bit about non-league is the people. You know what I mean? They're first and foremost. You know what I mean? It's something that it's very, very difficult to kind of once you're hooked, you're hooked. You know what I mean? And that's not, and like I'm out of it. I'll go and take my boy to watch the Albion, but I'll go and watch non-league games as well, because that's where I'll go and watch Sutton, and I'll go and watch the local teams, Boldmere, Romulus, you know what I mean, Sporting Calcer, because that's where it's the people, it's everything that goes into it. It's the constant battle, if you like, and you know what I mean, you've got the clubs that are the haves, and you've got the clubs that are the have-nots, and you love to see the have-nots doing well, and the haves struggling, and it's a weird place. But it's non-league in general is just, I mean,
big to get in this, isn't they? There's a big volunteering. There's a lot of volunteering, isn't there?
Yeah,
and that just brings togetherness in big, massive amounts of joy, really, in it. Because, like you say, you'll see the same people doing the same things for years and years and years, and they're the diehards of the club. Because without them, they ain't a football club, is they?
no, but it's like it's different things. Like, I mean, God rest his soul, one of my old players, Samuel Oji, passed away this year. You know what I mean? And he's really well thought of within. I mean, he's played professional as well, but within non-league, and the non-league community just comes together. You know what I mean? They put up a Just Giving page, and you're raising, like, I mean, I think it was over 13 grand that they just come together for. And then there's other things that you see that when anyone puts anything out to the non-league family, they respond. So there, you know what I mean? That's one thing that's really good. The players.
I was going to say, the banter in the dressing room is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you get the right group.
Yeah, being amongst the players, but there's nothing better. You know what I mean? Even as a manager, and I've always said that you, as a manager, you're most vulnerable when you shut that door behind you. You know what I mean? When the players are talking, and you know what I mean, if you've got players in there that are kind of having a dig and slagging you off, but if you've got that's very, you know what I mean, that's only happened to me on a few occasions. It has happened to me, you know, I'm not going to lie, but if you've got a dressing room that's buzzing, and you know what I mean, and the banter, as you say, and you know what I mean, and being part of that, and I know there's managers that kind of try to distance themselves from that, and I just think, well, why? I mean, that's massive. You know what I mean?
Massive.
Getting in there, having the piss took out of you. You know what I mean? Taking the piss out of others. That, you know what I mean? The mixture of you know what I mean, of characters that you've got in there. It's just when you see any professional player that comes out of football, they always say, you know, what you're going to miss, and it's the dressing room. It's that banter. But it's when you've got a squad of players that are all singing from the same hymn sheet, that are all in it together, that are all chomping at the bit to get into training, that are having a drink in the bar after, that are socialising with each other, that the WhatsApp group is buzzing and there's all messages going in, and it's taking the piss, or it's sharing videos, or there's honestly, you just, as a manager, you just sit back and you just smile knowing that you've got it.
It's a massive big part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, bang on. The amount of teams that that do well, when you look at it and think, you know, budget's a massive thing in football. You know what I mean? Yeah. It is a massive thing, and you can't take away from that. But you can look at teams and you can see them and think, well, I know that they haven't got the biggest budget, but look at that dressing room. Yeah. Look at that. You know what I mean? I've been having a bit of banter on Twitter recently about, you know what I mean, hashtag no Wi-Fi and hashtag full bars that we've been, you know what I mean, take, because we all do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Every single football club, every single person, you win a game, bang, you're on Twitter. Like, 3 points. You know what I mean? There's videos, you know what I mean, banging the drum, and you know what I mean, singing in the dressing room, banging the walls, banging. There's all that. You win. You know what I mean? Your Wi-Fi's bang on. Everything. You lose. You ain't putting anything on. And that in itself. And that's why we put the, you know what I mean, we had a little bit of banter, hashtag full bars, no Wi-Fi, you know what I mean? Brilliant. Full Wi-Fi. And it's because everyone, and okay, you're having a dig. Of course you're having a dig at people, but that's what it is as well. That's why I use Twitter for, you know what I mean? I've used it just to throw a little grenade in there, and it'll go off, and I'll get private messages. Is that about me? Is that about me? And I'm like, well, hang on, you know what I mean? Don't worry. But we all do it. So when you see that, when you've had a win and you see the lads coming on there, brilliant 3 points, the fans were brilliant, love it. The next week, or you'll see them 2 weeks later where they've been left on the bench, and then you get the head loss emoji, and you're like, it's class, it's brilliant. That's not league.
Are you a manager that gets involved in the WhatsApp group then?
So so we've got So we use WhatsApp. How we ever coped before WhatsApp, I have no idea. The old way you had to send out, you know what I mean, individual messages to people. WhatsApp's class. So we'd have a group WhatsApp, but then the players set their own up so they can hammer us or put their own stuff in there. But we had a player called Lee Smith, and it was actually my assistant, Spiller Phil Mayle, that told me so. Lee Smith had he couldn't come training or something. He was, you know what I mean? There was something that happened, and anyhow, he couldn't come, and he said that he didn't read the WhatsApp message, so he didn't get the WhatsApp message. Well, I didn't know, being new to it a few years ago, that you've got the read receipts and you've got what time that they read the message and everything. So he's genuinely told me. So he's like, he said, Gaff, I've been working, you know what I mean, working in school, didn't get the message, didn't know about training. That's why I weren't there. So we sat on the coach and I'm like, mate, fair enough. Happy days. You know what I mean? I know you're busy. You've told me, Sam. So my assistant's over here. So Spiller's overheard it. And Spiller's like, what? I went, oh, yeah. So he didn't get the WhatsApp message. He went, yeah, he did. I went, no, he didn't. He said he never got it. He went, look. So he showed me like the read receipts and that. But even that, you know what I mean? Lee Smith didn't know either. He didn't know that you could do it. So we both learned something that day. So yes, there was a little fine that went into him. But it's just, you know what I mean? It's stuff like that. It's you can use WhatsApp. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
So did you have the fan system? Did you use a fan system? Did you have the wheel? Did you know what I mean? Did the skipper? You know, we used to do the old. If you're going against the fan, people would tie it up in shirt and tie. You got to go to the courtroom. Did you have stuff
So we had basically I had the fine. I mean, we had some ridiculous fines on there. Like, you know what I mean? If anyone had a haircut, they get fined £2. You know what I mean? If you used the old word at the beginning with C, swear word that no one likes, you know what I mean, that's a £5. And any big time shouts, you know what I mean. So if you're praising yourself, or giving a big time shout, you get it. If you mentioned a previous club, you'd get fined. So there's loads of silly little ones in there but if they contested it, then it goes to the court, and if they lose, then it's doubled, or we even what we did as well. We said, well, what we do with you then, we let you flip for it. So if their fines get to like 25 or 30 quid, or, you know what I mean, some of them run them up to 60 quid, we'd give them the option to flip a coin and say double or quits. It's up to you. So it either gets wiped or it gets doubled. So fines are great. You know what I mean? Another part of non-league football, a few years ago, it was our playoff winning team, and that playoff winning team was one of those squads that I just knew, you know what I mean? You've just got it. We weren't the highest paid. I just knew that we got it. But what we had to do with that, it sounds stupid, but when they went into the showers, so they had to wear goggles, but they had a rubber duck as well. So they each had their own little rubber duck. So if they didn't have their goggles or their rubber duck, they'd get fined.
Brilliant.
Well, of course, these rubber ducks used to kind of go missing. And what the lads had done on one, so Mark Danks, who played for us, they nicked his duck, and they actually did they'd take it to different places and take photos of it in random places and put missing posters up. And honestly, it was the most stupid thing. But the first question we always used to ask when we get in there is, "Where's Danks' duck?" And it was class. It sounds stupid, but it's silly little things like that.
You know what, Neil? I'll be honest with you. That gets you about 12 to 15 points.
Oh, unbelievable! Unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. It's you just know that season there was us and Mikulova, and we were neck and neck, and then we got to November where we were second, they were top, we were a couple of points off them. We got to November, and then we went on an absolute horrendous run where we didn't win in 10 games. So we got to the point where for us to get into the playoffs, we'd knackered up automatic promotion. For us to get in the playoffs, we had to win 8 of our last 10 games, and we won 9 and drew 1. Wow. And then I said all along, I said, if we get in, we'll win them. You know what I mean? Regardless of playing. I mean, we played Leek in the final. The aggregate that year, they'd beat us, I think, 11-1 on aggregate. And we played them at their place. But I just knew, because of the dressing room that we had, that you didn't have, they didn't need managing, they didn't need coaching, they needed calming down probably a little bit and keeping their feet on.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And to keep it in order as well.
Yeah.
No, like I say, I mean, Matt hasn't been at this level of football, but this is why he's so interested in these parts, because, you know, it is a massive, massive part. I mean, I know it goes, higher and stuff like that, but that togetherness as a group, like I say, just like with the goggles and stuff, I just think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's class. It sounds it's stupid, but I don't like. I was brought up a Neil Diamond fan. My mum loved Neil Diamond, so Sweet Caroline was one of my favourite songs.
Yeah.
I detest it now because so many teams,
too many people,
too many people are like singing. But as long as they keep, you know what I mean. I've had clubs where, you know what I mean, they've banged up when they've beat us, they've banged on our door, and I think to myself, you know what I mean, you beat us, you haven't won anything, we've got to come and play you again, and the silly things like that happen. But when you know what I mean, there's some where they do it, I think, just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
But then there's, you know what I mean, there's others where you have things that go on in that dressing room where you don't need to bang on doors, you don't need to shout out the windows, you don't need to, I mean, you don't need to let the other team. It's just what happens in your dressing room. It's for the benefit of you in that dressing room rather than affecting anyone else.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a bully boy tactic, that, really, isn't it? When you think of it, like knocking on that door is just trying to make yourself feel a bit better about yourself.
Well,
and they're the ones that
I've had
the easiest.
God, the amount of scraps I've had in tunnels where people have knocked on our door and I've chased after them into their dressing room, and it's just I've never banged on anyone's door because I think it's disrespectful. And one of my players did it once. We played away at Blythe when we was in the Premier, and at Blythe Spartans, you literally walk down the tunnel, and there's their change rooms on the left and ours is on the right, literally just opposite each other. And we beat them. We beat them to go. We beat them to go second in the league. Our first season in the Premier, so it was massive for us. So of course our boys are buzzing. And as we're walking down the tunnel, I'm walking down the end, and one of my boys has banged on their dressing room door. And as he's gone into the dressing room, I've waited for Tommy, their manager, to open the door and went, look, I've just seen who it is. I'm going to let him get changed. I apologise on his behalf, but he will come because he'll come and apologise to this. So I grabbed the player out and made him go and apologise because there's no need for us to, we'd beat them fair and square. You know, That's enough. We don't need to, what we're banging on their door for?
No,
nothing from it.
Yeah, it's just.
Neil, have you ever, you know, when you're going for players, then do you just look at the quality of the player, or do you look at the, like, say, is he character? You know, because you get some players, don't you, with a bit of arrogance at this level. They just want a bit of money. They're not bothered about the group, really. So do you actually look at all aspects of, like, the personality, what they're like for the other team, what the character's like, obviously on top of the quality?
Yeah, you obviously they've got, first and foremost, they've got to be good footballers.
Yeah.
But of course you do. I'll give you an example. Recently when I was at Sutton, we brought Jamie Ashmore back to the football club, and Jamie is a very, very good footballer, but he's very vocal on the pitch. And if someone's shit, he'll tell you they're shit.
Yeah.
And we needed that. You know what I mean? And that was one of the reasons why we went for him, because we needed that person on the pitch who was going to be a bit horrible and call people out. And there's not enough. I've been in dressing rooms at half time where you've had to separate. You know, when we was at Retford, there was fights at half time. You know what I mean? With players, and you're having to jump in and separate them, and not only because they cared. And you don't want to see your players fighting at half time, but there's not enough characters in there now that will come in. They just look after themselves. Yeah. So they'll come in and they'll hide, and they'll think, right, I'm going to look after me. And I think that's the way football's going a little bit. So if you've got a character that's going to come in and rat people out, sometimes you need that. So you look at everything. You've also got to look at the ones that people label as bad eggs. But I've never been afraid, because I can manage people. So I've always, you know what I mean, if I've got a player that just wants to turn up and, you know what I mean, pick up his money and doesn't want to get involved in the group, as long as he's doing the business, it doesn't bother, you know what I mean? And that's what, if he's turning up and performing and banging in goals or putting in man of the match performances, then he don't want to socialise after him, don't want to get involved in the chat. So what? He's performing. It's when you've got someone who doesn't want to do that and doesn't perform, that's the issue, because then you're thinking what they're there for. But yeah, you have to look at the character side of it. You have to look at, obviously, how they fit into your squad, how they fit into your style of play. But ultimately, it's probably a combination of all of them.
So have you ever obviously took a gamble on someone, and you know you might not fit into your system, so you've got to now coach him in and mould him into that, like, personnel, the squad player that you need him to be? Yeah,
I've had a lot of players where people have said, don't touch him. You know what I mean? Mark Danks, Justin Richards, Graham Deakin. You know what I mean? There's loads. Don't touch him. You know what I mean? He won't do this for you and he won't do that for you. I never really I take people's advice, but I always kind of want to make that judgment on myself because if you know what I mean, it's the same with managers. You know what I mean. I would presume that chairman phone chairman, and if there's a chairman that I've worked with, and he turns around and says, yeah, you know what I mean, you don't want to work with him. He does this and he does that. Well, it's different circumstances. So I don't think it's fair to kind of pigeonhole anyone. But characters are brilliant. The reason that you know what I mean, the reason that people call them bad eggs, the reason that people say that they're not going to fit in your dressing room. They've got to have something, so I'll leave it to my judgment, you know what I mean, and leave it to my decision. And I've never really, there's not any that have ever come in and I've gone, well, yeah, they were right about that. It didn't work, so yeah.
So I've seen a bit of a success story for yourself, Jordan Tunnicliffe.
Yeah.
That ringing a bell? Yeah. So one of the when I was doing a bit of research on you last night, it's one of the stories I've seen. Dropped out from a release, from West Brom.
So Jordan was at West Brom. Yeah, he was at West Brom as a kid, and then he kind of went round on these exit trials and went there. I think he was at West Ham for a while. He ended up at Barnsley. I think he went to some other clubs in between and just bitted and bobbed. And it was Tom Turton that was playing for us. And Tom said, my mate lives in Tamworth. He stopped playing football. He just wants to come and have a kickabout. Can he come and have? And I was like, okay. Tell me a bit about him. He told me, and I was like, well, yeah, of course he can.
He's got a bit. Oh, I think we've lost you there, Neil.
Nothing. So we got Jordan in, and I just had a chat with him, and he just said that he'd fell out of love with football. Didn't want to play anymore. He'd been messed around too many times. He was sick of going on trials, sick of travelling all over the country. I think he ended up playing for Barrow and living in Tamworth and driving to Barrow. It was a nose, and I just said to him, I said, look, just come in and just enjoy it. You know what I mean? Get the smile back on your face. If you want to play for us, you play for us. If you don't, you just want to come in training, just come in training. And after a couple of weeks, we persuaded him to play, and he just got the love back. And as soon as he played, he was just far too good for our level, head and shoulders, and it was just a knock-on effect from that then, and he was playing for us, and obviously then that's what happens, I think, a lot with a lot of the teams, you know what I mean, the higher ranked teams, the Kidderminsters, people like that, they know about these players, but then when they fall off the radar, it's when they start seeing them getting man of the match performances and he's back on the radar, and then they start having a look again rather than taking a chance on them before. So that's when he started getting admirers coming to watch him, and Kiddy took him off us. So yeah, it was Kiddy had Jamil Matt off us before, a few years before, who scored a lot of goals from and went on. You know, he's still playing professional now, Jamil. So yeah, to see Jordan go to where he was, and then he scored the winner against Leeds last year in the FA Cup and signed his shirt and sent it on to me. So it was
that's good touch, isn't it?
It's a fitting touch, isn't it?
It's to have a small part to play, and it was a small part that we played, you know what I mean, because it's his talent and everything that's got him there. But to be appreciated like that, he's fantastic.
Brilliant. And I think I saw he finished in the League Two Team of the Year, didn't he, last season?
Yep.
For Crawley as well. So I mean, to say the guy was just going to hang his boots up, and you've had a chat in his ear, and you've helped him fall in love with the game again, and you've changed the life there.
Well, when you put it like that, I suppose you can. Listen, it was we all we did was give him the platform to go, and you know what I mean. He had to have the will, he had to have the wants, and luckily he had that. You know what I mean. We didn't use him, but of course, when you've got a player like that that's going to come in to get up on, obviously we were doing well and we were performing well, so people were taking note. So it was a good fit. But yeah, to see him go on and to continue to do what he is, he's brilliant. But he's a down to earth lad. His best mate plays in goal. Well, did play in goal for Highgate, and I went to watch Highgate a couple of years ago, and he was sat in the stand watching his mate. So he's a real down to earth kid who's doing well.
Okay, brilliant.
So before we move on to the bad side of it, I think Scott played me down a little bit there. He mentioned something about me not really playing at this level before. Now I've got a little bit, and if there was, to be fair, if there was a step 15, step 16, I'd probably make the bench for it. So I don't know why he's playing me down like that.
I've got a box at Hull City now, and obviously I've invited Matt on Saturday. and there's this like inflatable thing where you can just, when you just blast the ball at it and see how hard you can go. All of a sudden now he thinks he's a player because he beat me by about 7 miles an hour.
8, mate. It's 8. Let's be realistic. He steps up.
Technique is absolutely horrendous, like a toe poke.
He didn't toe poke it, did he?
Virtually, yeah.
Oh,
There's video footage coming out of this soon, so watch your words, Scotty, because I beat you fair and square. It was a competition for the hardest kick. You don't need technique for that, mate.
No, you don't. To be fair, that's what it is.
I won the game. He's giving it big licks as well on the phone before he got. I did it last week, mate. I smashed everyone. All right, let's see what you got.
Wait till you see the video, mate. The technique's unbelievable.
Okay, never lose it, mate. Never lose it.
For a lefty, mate, he's got a little. So anyway, we'll move on to the next part of it, which is the bad side. For you, Neil, what's the bad side? But bear in mind, there's an ugly side as well, so don't go too deep.
For me, the bad side is these bluffers that are coming into football. So you know what I mean. Your coaches, and they're getting jobs that they shouldn't be anywhere near, mate. And listen. The people will probably watch this and think you're just jealous, and there is a bit of jealousy because some of these jobs that people are getting, but they have no clue. You know what I mean? They have no real. Everything, all their football's been done on one of these jotter pads. You know what I mean? With a football pitch on with magnets on a whiteboard, and for academies, that's what we played. We played Birmingham Academy in the Birmingham Senior Cup. And we knew that it would be keeper would roll it out to the 6-yard box. You know what I mean? The two centre halves would pull out wide and they'd try and play it through the thirds. And you don't see Blues playing that. Blues don't do that on a Saturday. Their first team don't do that. So why are the academies doing it? And you just whatever academy you watch, you know what I mean? Like Boldmere beat Walsall Academy 8-0 in the Birmingham Senior Cup, and it was the same. One of my niece's boyfriend plays for Boldmere. I spoke to him and he said, every time the keeper got it, he rolls it out, and you just—it's not real. You know what I mean? Man City can do it, Barcelona could do it, PSG could do it, but you're talking elite level, world class footballers. You don't need to be doing this at step 4 in non-league and you don't need to be doing it in academies because the amount of players that come through academies and actually get into professional football, I think the percentage is ridiculously low. You know what I mean? Under 20%. So then what do? They go into non-league and all they've been done. So a centre half coming out of academy, all he's been taught to do is drop, get it off the keeper, play it out, clip one over the fullback to the winger. What about when he's got to defend? What, you know what I mean? What about I keep saying we. Sorry, it's a force of habit. At Sutton, there's a lad called Alex Smith come out of academy football. As a defender, he's absolutely ridiculous for his age. You know what I mean? He's going to be some player. But a couple of the questions he was asking, and he's always one of these that would ask questions. So he's asking me and my staff, Rob, what do you think I'm doing wrong? Where do you want me to pass the ball? What should I do in possession? And I said to Millie, my assistant, I said, when's he asking us about how to defend? Because he's there to defend. That's his job. He's there to defend. So I pulled him and said, yeah, I said, you're here to defend. I said, I'm not. I said, don't get me wrong. If you can play a ball out your feet and clip it into the area that we want you to do, brilliant. I said, but first and foremost, keep that clean sheet. That's your job. And since he's done that, he's been, absolutely fantastic. But that's my, oh God, it's not a pet hate. I just hate to see that's at the elite level, you know what I mean, in football clubs, in professional football clubs, in full-time football, brilliant. You know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant. But when you're dropping down into non-league, yes, you've got to be able to put a session on. But I work, so I can coach. I'm not a coach. I don't enjoy coaching. I'm a manager, so I say to my coach, we need to work on this week. We were poor. You know what I mean, we were poor in possession. You know what I mean, the pressing weren't good. That's what we need to work on. Or we were really good at this. We need to capitalise and work a little bit more on this. And then my coach will go out and put that session on. And that's the few hours that we've got. But just everything that's done with, and I see them when I go and watch games, and they've got these pads that you pay like 35 quid for a pad, and it's got your football pitch on there, and you can write all your different zones and zone 14 and zone 11 and the false number 9 and playing with 2 10s. When you ask a player now, when you speak to a player, when a player sends in a CV, what position do you play? I'm a CDM. You know what I mean? I'm a number 10. I
don't like, Neil. This terminology, people then get the false impression that this person must know what he's talking about, but it's just words. Do you know what I mean? For me, you move your words is a segment of management. It's actually doing the right things. You don't have to use the terminology of a book. Do you know what I mean? Me and you have got the experience. We've seen it. We've been there. We've done it. It doesn't necessarily. But these chairmen at this level, because they're using the terminology, it absolutely baffles the brains. It really does.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. They're coming in and they're seeing it and they're thinking, whoa, this is what we need. You know what I mean? Oh, that one, recycle. What? Recycle? You know what I mean? It's keep the ball moving. You know what I mean? They're just changing. They're just, and it is, and it just, listen.
It is. It's a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't begrudge anyone getting a job, because if people want to work in football, fair play, but you've got to be level specific. You know what I mean? And listen, some of these lads coming through, they love the buzzwords. You know what I mean? They love managers sitting down and say, "I want you to be part of my project. This is my ethos. This is my philosophy." It's the way that it's going, but it just pains me, and it makes me cringe, and it makes me laugh. And you know what I mean? I've been stood alongside managers that they're all on Twitter, they're doing their interviews, and you know what I mean, they're rolling their hands and they're being very animated, and they're doing this, and you know what I mean. And then
but there's a pattern. Everybody does the same pattern.
They're 1-0 down against us, and they sat down. They're not giving instructions. They're not, because they haven't. Where's their experience? They've never been one down. They've not been one down against Sutton on a poor 3G pitch, and you know what I mean, where we're pinning them back. So what's he got? I mean, all he's got is his buzzwords recycled, which is good when you're in possession. But it's just, oh God, as you can see.
I think what you're trying to get at and to put into it is manage your expectations as to where you are. Like, look at your surroundings. You're not at the elite level, the world class. Just bring it down to where you are. Without trying to sound disrespectful, bring it down. But just don't overcomplicate it, because you're managing people at the end of the day. Yes and no, because I always firmly believe you should be, whatever level that you work at, you should be as professional as you can be. So if that's their perception of being professional, then you know what I mean. I'm not gonna slag that off, because that's up to them. If they think that is them being ultra professional, then brilliant, because they're getting the best out of them and they're setting their standards. So when you say it's been, they need to know the level that they're at. But I don't necessarily need to think that they need to just, if their standards are higher than the level because they want to get up to that different level, then that's, you know what I mean, that's a different thing. But it's just use it for what it is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think a lot of them are using themselves to enhance their reputation, to enhance what they feel they know. But we all know the same. We just put it in different ways of saying it.
Yeah.
And at the moment, unfortunately, as Scott said, you're going into a chairman with all these buzzwords and all these PowerPoint presentations and with all these magnets. And I had an interview with Hereford when they were reborn. I got invited to go for an interview with them for the manager's job. And my coach at the time was a good coach, and he was one of them. You know what I mean? It's all on the board, on the whiteboard, magnets and all that kind of stuff. But that's fine. And the interview was going okay. And then they had this guy from the League of Wales that was helping them with their recruitment. And he had a whiteboard with the magnets, and he said, "Can you go up there and show me, you know what I mean, what your philosophy is, what your coaching philosophy is?" And I may as well have just got up and walked out, because I knew then that the interview was over, because that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not. I employ people for that. You know what I mean? I employ coaches, I employ analysis teams and stuff like that to get the best of and how professional you can be. But for me, sitting down in front of a panel of people that want me to go and use magnets, then if that's what chairmen are after now, won't get that from me. You know what I mean? I can put a team together that can do that, and my, you know what I mean, Millie and Spiller who work with me, they're, you know what I mean, they're very comfortable doing that, but not me.
Neil, talk to me about agents at Step 4.
God. Oh God, agents in non-league. I'll give you an example of my most recent one. So we had a lad that I'm not going to name him because he's a good lad, and you know what I mean, he's had a few issues and that. So he weren't playing for us. So his agent rang me and said it's not working. And I went, yeah. I said, I agree, it's not working. He said, yeah. He said, I think we're gonna move him. We're gonna move him to another club. I went, that's absolutely fine, absolutely fine. He's not playing. He needs to play. I said, just out of interest, I said, why do you think it's not working? And he went, what do you mean? I said, well, you obviously come to our games to watch him play. I said, so what do you think you had him when he was at Blues? What do you think's happening? He hadn't watched him for 3 years.
Wow.
He hadn't seen him play for 3 years. So this is his client who he's representing that he hadn't seen play for 3 years.
Who he's taking money from as well.
Yeah, taking money from, and I just, you don't listen. And I know why the agents do it. They're trying to get that one that will progress them into, but you don't need agents at non-league football. What, you know what I mean? I actually put a joke tweet out saying that when I finish football, I'm going to be a non-league agent because I know managers and I know chairman, and I can probably negotiate better deals without it. And I actually got 15 lads get in touch with me saying, could you represent? So it was only a bit of tongue in cheek, but that might be the next way forward.
Wow. What about, obviously you've been a manager for a long time, have you ever got any people giving you video clips of the best bits? And because we've had that Redditch at Ilkeston, mate, I didn't know where to look.
Yeah. Well, highlight reel, someone doing keepy uppies in the back garden.
This is what I'm saying, they're doing keepy uppies and all these tricks and flicks. I've never been, as a footballer or a manager and a coach, doesn't interest me in the slightest. But why would you send your tricks and... If you've got a bit of roll your sleeves up, bit of grit, bit of determination, then show me that on a video. Don't show me the tricks and flicks.
We live in a YouTube culture, don't we? So it's all, you know what I mean. These YouTubers now are multi-millionaires.
Yeah.
So yeah. Listen. I don't mind the video clips because on some of them you can actually make that judgment where you can just turn around and say no. But yeah, I prefer to read a CV. The first question I always ask: where have you played? What level have you played? They can send me all the videos in the world, and I've been on trial here, I've been on trial there, but you just make your own judgments on it. I prefer to talk to managers and look at clubs and look at levels that they play, because on the internet you can find out whatever you need to know now.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Fair enough. So moving on from that, then we kind of digressed a little bit there from the bad side. And what would you say is the ugly, the dirty, the part that probably shouldn't be in the game?
I don't know. The part that shouldn't be in I think the old budgets, you know what I mean, these imaginary budgets and the way clubs operate is, I don't think it's a fair playing field. You've got clubs that are paying tax, national insurance, you know what I mean, you've got clubs that are brown envelopes still, and that's the way football is, and it's just not, especially after COVID. You know what I mean? There's that many clubs out there that use COVID to their advantage. You know what I mean? That were like claiming money for players and not passing it on to the players. And it's just, you know what I mean? And what they've done, they've saved that money now, and then they're using that as their budget going forward. And it stinks. And there's a lot of underhand things that go on within non-league, unfortunately. And you know what I mean, in terms of with budgets and with players, and then the knock-on effect of that is, I suppose, you know what I mean, players getting tapped up, and there's no loyalty. So that's the ugly side. You know what I mean? There's no
There's no such thing as a 7-day rule, is there?
Oh mate, you don't listen, and I'm guilty. You don't waste 7 days if you haven't spoke to the player. It's a myth. You know what I mean? There's managers that you'll do it for. You know what I mean? The ones that you get on with and the ones that treat you with respect. But I've had managers ring me and say, I mean, just to let you know, if I ever want any players off you, I'll let you know first. And they've already spoke to your players, and I don't mind. It's part, you know what I mean? If you're going to speak to my players, but don't ring me up and tell me that you're not speaking to my players when you are.
Just be honest with it. Yeah.
And it's
go on, as somebody not from the non-football league, what's this 7 days for anybody else like me who isn't aware of this? What are you referring to when you mention the 7 days?
So if you're on a non-contract player, which the majority of players are in non-league, so you're non-contract, you're just on a registration form. Right. So a club would have to give the other club 7 days notice that they want to speak to that player. So what it does, it gives the club who hold the player 7 days to talk to their own player and keep it, rather than someone just coming in. And then once that club have put 7 days in for one of your players, they can't then put 7 days in on another one of your players for 28 days. So it's just to keep it fair. It's to stop just managers coming in and just cherry picking loads of players from one club and that. So it is a good rule, but as I say, you very rarely if you put 7 days in on someone that you haven't already spoke to, then it's a waste.
So there's a bit of discipline at that level then, because when you mention about the budgets now, you kind of think it must be a little bit easier to get away with, financial fair play at a lower level.
Oh, there's no financial fair play at lower level. We're not governed by anything. You know what I mean? It's if a multi-millionaire, look what's happening at Buxton. You know what I mean? Guys come in, multi-millionaire. The budgets, they haven't got a budget. You know what I mean? It's just whatever you want to spend, you spend. They stay in hotels on a Friday night before games, wherever they're playing. It's just on an absolute another level. And when we were in the Premier, you know what I mean, we were competing with Salford when they were in the league, and they're turning up to our place in a coach that's got all the TVs, the leather seats, the tables, and everything. We're going to their place in a minibus that the wheels are falling off. So there's different levels to it, totally different levels to it.
What about backstabbing, Neil? Any stories about backstabbing the Douglas side? Has anybody tried to approach your job while you're in it, or?
I think there always is. It's part and parcel. We've got a mantra that we work to where there's no friends in football, and there's not. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous the amount of stuff that goes on, tapping up the players. You know what I mean? And I don't think backstabbing me in terms of with my chairman. You know what I mean? And my committee. I don't. You know what I mean? I think I accused one person of doing it once and I got it totally wrong. So I don't kind of think about that. But mate, I've had a manager this year, you know what I mean, ring me up and tell me that he's not interested in my player, and at the same time he's texting the player asking if he's interested in going, and it's just as I say, just you know what I mean, but just don't, if you're gonna do it, don't phone me up and say you're not gonna do it. You know what I mean? I've had, you know what I mean, when I was away on holiday a couple of years ago, I got a lad that was on contract and he's telling me that he wants to leave. And I'm like, well, why do you want to leave? You're on a contract. And the other managers already spoke to him, and then they try and deny that they ain't. And on that one, we ended up getting money for him. But if the club would have gone right way about it, I'd have probably released him, you know, without getting any doubt for him. So the backstabbing, it's a part and parcel, you know what I mean? And you've got, if I go and watch games and you get all the managers congregating together and backslapping and how you doing and all this, and you know full well that they're gonna backstab them and talk about them and all that kind of stuff. So I've never mixed. I've got a handful that I speak to on a regular basis, and I've probably got even less than that have actually helped me when I've needed help. So it's definitely every man for themselves.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, mate. 100%.
I don't think it's easier somebody who's not played in there to look at that and kind of think that's how it would be, because it's a dogfight, isn't it?
It's brutal.
It literally is every man for himself, and you know what I mean. It's quite funny because when you lose your job, and I've lost my job, I've resigned, and the amount of messages that I've got from people, and there's messages that I've got from people that I've expected. There's messages I've got from people that I didn't expect. but there's more messages that I haven't got from the people that I expected to get from, and that's when you know, and you just think to yourself,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's managers that when they're out of football, they're always on the phone. Can you get me a pass? Can I come and watch? Can I do this? As soon as they get a job, all of a sudden their phone don't work. They're putting 7 days in on your players without even picking the phone up to
No
you.
Wi-Fi.
Just like, well, yeah, no Wi-Fi. And you just like, I don't know. I'm not. Maybe it's me. Maybe I should have been a little bit more like that. Maybe I'd have climbed a bit more and gone higher. But that climbing over everyone without bothered about the consequences or even giving a shit, that just weren't me.
It seems like in the modern day you don't get to talk about climbing along people to get there, and if you're a person of integrity, then it's just not for you. You end up staying at the same level, and that's the way kind of life goes, isn't it?
There's no integrity in non-league management. There's none at all.
Zero.
Neil, I know this is Douglas, and I'm going off the track, but I've just thought now. Would you take a job step 5, step 6, or is your level step 4 and above?
For anybody listening,
yeah. For anyone listening, listen. I wouldn't rule any. I don't. The levels don't bother me. It's about It's about the club and the project. It's I think if I do take another job, I look at the club. I look at the sustainability. I look at their plans on and off the pitch. Stuff that I shouldn't worry about. That probably you need to look at a little bit more detail from my learnings. But no, levels don't bother me, mate. There's the money that's in it now. There's clubs at the level below that are paying out a lot more than the budget that I've had for the last 5 years, and there's even teams the level below that are having to go for it. So I've always fancied a crack at the Midland Alliance, because then I've always fancied a crack at putting a team together to get a good run in of ours. So I've never managed that low down, which is something that I'm proud of, because my level has been at step 4 and step 3, where I've had my success. But yeah, I wouldn't rule it out, mate. I'm not big-headed to turn around and say I'll never manage at that level, because that's not me.
No, brilliant.
Because it's the love of the game, isn't it? It's the love of the game, and you can see that it's evident from speaking to you. You just love being around the game, being around the players.
That's it. That's the thing. That's the thing that I'll miss. It's the people. It's the players. It's my staff. It's the fans. It's just being involved in a football club and having that buzz. It doesn't matter what level you're at. That buzz, that win, that 3 points, that win in the cup. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what level. That feeling is the same, whatever level you're at.
Regardless of it, yeah.
Everybody loves winning football matches, don't they?
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the second half now. The second half, we're going to kick off into this, and this will be where we speak about the highlights and the lows. And I'll put it on your toes now, Neil, to tell me what has been the highlight of your football career. Was it when that first time playing, when you started and you've done that massive swaz? Swaz is a modern word as well, mate. So
swaz, modern word, yeah. Well, it's getting a bit earlier, isn't it?
Shank, I'd call it a shank.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a shank. My highlight, mate, was the promotion. Nothing will ever beat that. Taking a club like Sutton that hadn't been promoted up to that level for over an amount of years, and with the squad of players that we did, and being written off, and just the whole feeling of it, nothing will ever top that. Nothing. So that's my highlight. There wasn't many playing highlights. I'll be honest with you. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it.
So Neil, just going back to that winning promotion side, then, did you get offers from any other club in the pre-season, or was you loyal to Sutton and just said, "Look, listen, I've done what I've got to do. Can I now achieve it at the next level?" Or was there a couple of people coming for you?
I got offered the Chasetown job. So.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I got offered the Chasetown job. We'll probably come on to that with regrets, because that's one of the regrets. There was, and that's when Hereford came in as well. You know what I mean? That's when the interest came in from Hereford.
Oh, wow.
And Chasetown. So it was there was a few. Your stock's high, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've taken a club that weren't expected to get there and got there, so your stock's high. So there was a lot of interest. But it was. I should have gone to Chasetown, and that's one of my regrets. I should have took the Chasetown job, but then finishing 12th with Sutton in the Premier League was a massive achievement for us, and we enjoyed it every step of the way. So I although I regret not taking the Chase Down job because of what that could have developed into, staying at Sutton and getting them up to their highest ever league finish was another big achievement.
Credit where it's due. It's no easy feat, and by the sounds of things, I mean, again, I'm not from that level. If I'm to put it into aspect, I'm a Hull City fan. From the local area.
When you look at the teams that were in the Premier that year, you know, I mean, you had your Salfords, your Darlingtons, you know, I mean, Blythe Spartans. These are
big
massive
as well,
clubs, that we're going up against, and we were competitive. You know, I mean, you had Altrincham in there as well. We were competitive, and we were everyone's banker to get relegated without winning any games. That was what it was at the start of the season, and we ended up finishing 12th, and we beat Darlington and Blythe, and you know, I mean, we went far in the FA Cup and FA Trophy that year as well. So it was a great year. Yeah.
What was your style of play then? Did you mix it up with different sides, or did you have like a plan A, and if we just got to keep sticking to it because eventually it'll work?
We were hard working. You know, I mean, we had quality. We had wide players that were able to put balls into the box, and we had very strong centre forwards that knew where the goal was, and that's what I always built it on. And we knew that we'd concede goals because of the way that we played, but there wasn't. When people say to me, "What's your style of play?" My style of play is a winning style of play. You know what I mean? Like, if I've got to go, it's whatever it is on that day to get the result. If I've got to go 4-4-2, we'll go 4-4-2. If I've got to go 4-5-1, we'll go 4-5-1. I'm not one of these that say, "Oh, we pass it through the thirds," and you know what I mean, we break out, we press high, and all that. It's whatever you play that day for that team, the team that you've got available, and the team that you're playing against.
So do you like to get the ball out wide and put crosses in early then?
Yeah, love nothing better than a cross into the box and your centre forward coming in and heading it or volleying it. It's football. It's easy football. It's easy football. You know what I mean? Get out there, get wide. You ain't going to score. You ain't going to score many goals if you don't get the ball into the box.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's classic English, isn't it? When you speak of like English football, when you speak of like, oh, it's an old school English winger, it's what you hear, isn't it? That's the early cross, centre forward on the end of it, and it's what you like to see. So obviously you've taken Sutton Coldfield to the highest possible place. What's the low side for you? What's the worst experience?
The worst experience was my time at Hensford. Don't think I was given a fair crack. Made some big mistakes. As I said, I changed my style to adapt to a bigger club, what I thought I needed to do, and I should have just stuck to what I know and what had got me to where I was. So that getting the sack there after only 7 games, it hurt, and it still does hurt, and it's a massive low point, because all of a sudden you're judged on that. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? People think, well, you had to go, you went up there and you had to go at a bigger club and you didn't cut it. I wasn't given the opportunity to cut it. And listen, it might have turned out that I wasn't cut out for it. But to have that taken away in the circumstances it was taken away was, I don't think it was. Well, it still leaves a bit of taste, and I think it always will. But that's definitely the low point.
Neil, take us back from the start then. So how did this come about? Getting the Hensford job or the opportunity? Did they approach you? Did you approach them? Or
so I was out of work and I approached them 2 managers before.
Was that
but they went through managers like Price, yeah. So he actually said to me when I spoke to him the first time, he said, he said, trust me, he said, you don't want the job. He said, it's poison chalice, you don't want it. But then it came around again, and Steve phoned me and said, are you still interested? And I said, I am interested. I said, but I'm not interested in going through the whole process of the interview and that again. And he went, well, he said, come and meet me tomorrow. He said, if we can thrash out a deal, you can have the job, and that's what it was. And he gave me a fantastic budget, and everything was rosy. But then he just didn't give me the opportunity to pursue it, if you like. And sorry, I've just got to plug my laptop in.
So what did you do, Neil? Did you get players in, or did you stick with the same squad that had been there previous?
It was a mixture. So hang on, let me just plug my laptop in. Sorry. So you don't get this on the telly, do you? It was a mixture. They had a good squad. They had some good players. But it was important that I put my own stamp on it as well and got my own lads in. So it was a mix, and it was a good mix. You know what I mean? We had a really, really good squad. As I say, just had the carpet pulled from under me.
So the existing players at Ensford, then, was they having you straight away, or did they kind of thing?
Nah, there was a few. There was a few in there that didn't back me. That just, I don't think they'd have backed anyone. If I'm quite honest, I think they just made their judgments on me. And as I say, I made some mistakes. You know what I mean? There was some stuff that I did where they might have thought a couple of times. They might have thought it was amateur hour because I tried to probably put like a bit of fun into it in a way that they probably wasn't used to, and it backfired. But I think players can have an impact on a new manager more than someone who's established. So I mean, especially players who have been at the club a while, and I've got the fans here and got the chairman's here, and there's loads of stuff that went on at that football club that you look back and think, oh, if I'd have spotted that, but then the players probably look back and think, well, look at what you did. You know what I mean? It just wasn't. I don't think it was fair that I got treated the way I did, and as I say, the way it ended. But I still speak to people at the club. Still speak to Terry Mack. You know what I mean? Deeks, who used to play for me, is assistant manager there now. I speak to the fans. You know what I mean? And
I was going to say, did the fans know the true story of how it all went about, or is this the first time you've actually spoke about it? No,
the fans know, mate. The fans know. I've never been quiet about it, and the fans, you know what I mean. The chairman brought in Rob and Larry, who he'd worked with before, and I don't blame him for that. He'd had success with it, and they were available, and it's, you know what I mean. It was a comfort blanket for him.
Yeah,
but it was it just could have been done a little bit, you know what I mean, a little bit better, and we put a lot of effort into building the squad and putting a lot of building blocks in over pre-season, and then just for him to turn around and say, actually, I've changed my mind, see you later. It was just crap. It was just rubbish.
So, I mean, I was there for 2 years back in 2000, and I think it was 2001, 2002. Great club, innit? Great.
Yeah. Oh, unbelievable.
Everything going from, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
As a football club.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. You could knock 25 quid, 30 quid off talking to a player about money and I made sure that I met every single player at the stadium because I'd just walk him out.
Just the surroundings, innit? Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want a player every week? But yeah, it's that's the low light. It's sour. It will always be sour. I've always said that I would love to go back there, in some capacity, just to prove a few people wrong. But that ship's probably sailed.
So you said that when you went in there, you changed the way you were a little bit to try and be what you thought you needed to be at that level. What did you change?
Just my approach to the players. I gave the players that I didn't know too much rope, if you like, too much. Right. I let them get away with
for weakness, maybe.
Say again.
Was it a bit like calmness for weakness?
It was right. You need to change your approach. You need to, and I changed my approach to possibly appease some of them. Not all of them. You know what I mean, some of them were class, but you know what I mean. And listen, this ain't just the players at the players I inherited at Ensford. You know what I mean. There was some of the players that I brought in as well. I'm not just saying that it was the players that were left there that were the problem. Some of the players that I brought in were the problem, but you know what I mean. I genuinely, some of the stuff that I did was probably looked at and being a little bit shambolic. But yeah, I changed, and I shouldn't have changed. I should have stuck to what had brought me the success. But I thought, because I'm going to a bigger club, I need to have that approach, that bigger club approach, where I didn't. I just needed to do everything that I've been successful with.
So what was your record then after 7 games?
We'd won 2, lost 3, drawn 2. So
it's not.
We got knocked. Listen, we got knocked out of the FA Cup by Boston Town. It wasn't great. We won the El Stafico, which the fans were more bothered about, but the chairman was more bothered about the FA. But listen, I could have won all 7 games. I could have been still in the FA Cup. It would have meant no difference. It wasn't the football related decision. It was nothing to do with performances.
That's mad, isn't it?
Mm.
Are you willing to go on record and say what it was?
It was just he got the chance to bring Rob and Larry back in. So they did.
Did you sign a contract there, Neil?
No, there was no contract. No, he didn't need a contract. He had his handshake.
So the
ugly side of the game.
So again,
did you meet him at his car lot in Dudley?
No, mate. Listen, I've got again. Pricey was brilliant. You know, what I mean, I've spoke to him a lot. I fell out with him at the time, but we've cleared the air and we've had a chat after. And great guy. You know what I mean, and had such a love and a passion for the football club that a lot of people didn't realise. But he made the decisions, and we've cleared the air since. I've got no animosity towards him at all.
No, brilliant.
So just finally moving on now, it's been a pleasure obviously having you on, Neil, and definitely shedding some insight onto me as to how non-league football works. And I guarantee I'm only going to pick up more and more as we get more guests on. But we did put a little tweet out last night asking if anybody's got any questions for you. And I'm looking forward to knowing some of these answers, because some of them make you think, oh, what's this in relation to? So Scottish wrote them down, and I think he's going to deliver them to you anyway. So
we've got at Rigger AVFC, who's the best player you've managed?
Oh, God. The best player I've managed. That's
favourites. Here we go.
The best player I've managed would have to be Justin Richards for a number of reasons. Not necessarily the most talented, but the best player. For someone like Justin to come, who got his career in football, for someone to come and believe in me and what we wanted to do, and we didn't offer him, you know what I mean, it was embarrassing the amount of money that I offered him to come and play for us. I think it was 90 quid, you know what I mean, and this is a player who's been around, and Football League and the conference, and for him to come and believe in that, and not only believe in it, buy into it, and be a leader, and you know what I mean, and be just everything that you would want a footballer to be. That was a massive thing for me. That, and I had, if I go back years before, when I was at Retford, we had a player called Adrian Littlejohn.
Yeah.
And Aid was a great lad. But
Sheffield United.
Yeah, and West Brom. But whenever I spoke to him, he always made me feel like, hang on, mate, you're at this level. I've played at least, and I don't know if he did it intentional, you know what I mean. But he always made me feel a little bit like, you can't tell me what to do, mate. You haven't done anything I've done in the game. And Justin was probably the first big ex-pro that I had to come to play for me, and to have him believe in me and back me and be that, after I'd had that experience with Adrian Littlejohn, was just something that just helped me so much more than, and like, you know what I mean, I was able to go and get players like Luke Rogers, and we've had other ex-pros and that have come on.
How was he to manage, Luke Rogers?
Oh, mate, he's class. Absolutely class. Absolutely brilliant. Well, everyone thinks he's, but he's a player. He's not a nutter. He's an absolute. He's got a reputation, and he
just a character again, isn't he?
Yeah, he probably lived off that. But what a player! You know what I mean? He'd been playing 18 months before he signed for me. He'd been playing up front for New York Red Bulls with Thierry Henry, and now he's playing for me. And it's just, you know what I mean. But yeah, Justin would be the answer to that question.
Right, we've got Mr. Graham Jory next. What washing powder do you use?
I have no idea. I don't do the washing. No idea.
Answer.
No idea.
I think I know this one. At group stage exit, what is your biggest mistake?
Oh God. I've turned down 2 jobs. Chase Town, the one that we've just spoke about. It was a mistake because I know what that could have gone on to be. They were on the way back up, and you see the club now, and they're getting like 500-600 fans, and that was a sleeping giant, and it was an opportunity for me that I do regret not taking. The other one was a day before I got offered the Hensford job, I actually shook Paul Billings' hand, the Cozil chairman, and agreed to take over there. And again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But yeah, it was not taking that job, and he took me out for a curry, and it was an expensive curry as well, and he paid for it, so I still owe him one. But yeah, we shook hands on a deal, and then I got the phone call from Hensford the next day, and unfortunately I had to phone him up and say, I can't take it. Hensford's come up, and I've got to take this opportunity. So but they're both mistakes. I don't really have a lot of regrets, but they're both two mistakes where I think it would have been a lot different if I'd followed those.
Next question at J Nugent 10. I think we've gone through this. Why was Neil at Hensford for 4 minutes? So we'll just bypass that one.
No. I'll answer that because I wasn't good enough, and that's it. And by hook or by crook, I wasn't good enough. So it's I didn't get the time to prove that I was, but there's no hiding. But I can blame other people and everything, but circumstances were. But I think from my own personal thing that I could have been a lot better than what I was.
No, fair play. I like that answer.
I read that, man. I read that.
At Manor2 Pike, best night out.
See, now this is my best mate, Manto Pike. So I know the night that he wants me to mention, but my wife might watch this. My wife might be watching this, so I don't want to get into too much trouble. But no, my best night out is with him when we used to go in our clubbing days when we were young, free, and single. So yeah, anyone that I was out with, my best mucker.
Brilliant.
Could you be any more vague?
Oh God! Listen, all I'm saying is it's a good job that there was no social media around when we were young, because
we said that honestly, man, innit? At Gareth32, Gareth, ask him about his special day on the 23rd of the 11th, 96, Coventry. # on your toes. Okay, so I'm a West Brom fan. All of those boys are Villa fans, and we used to play football, Sunday League football for Birmingham Celtic, and there was a lad called Jim Arnold who used to play in goal, played for Redditch, but great lad. He knew someone at Coventry that could get us tickets to go and watch the Villa game. So my mate's like, "Do you fancy coming? We'll have a day out on the beer in Coventry. We'll go to the Coventry game, have a beer after." Yeah, sound, why not? Like, West Brom was struggling, you know what I mean? Villa, Coventry is a derby in the Premier League. Why not? So when we get there, where are we sitting, Jim? We're sitting in the family enclosure. That's the Coventry end, Jim. Yeah, we'll be fine. It's the family. There's all families in there. We'll be absolutely sound. I'm sitting there not doing, you know what I mean, just minding my own business. But you can tell that every time Villa get on the attack, they're up on, you know what I mean? And so at half time, we're down in the getting a drink. And you could just see that it was becoming on top. You know what I mean? There's gangs of, and I think there was about 6 or 7 of us. So we're not, I mean, it's not 1 or 2. We're a gang of lads, basically. So these Coventry fans are thinking, well, we're not having this. So anyhow, we're back down there. And as the game goes on, it's 0-0, it's 0-0, it's 0-0. 86 minute, Steve Staunton steps in from left back. Oh, no. Can still see the goal now. He rockets the ball straight across the Grizovic, top corner. These lads all jump out their seats. At the same time, I turn around. You've got punches, you've got spit, everything's coming towards us. We end up over the barrier because we're about 4 rows from the front. We end up over the barrier. And we're like, literally, the stewards are throwing us back in. So the stewards are throwing us back into these people who are wanting to kill us. So we're like, we can't go in. And then that's where the shout comes from, on your toes. It was like, just run wherever you can. So we turn around, and one of our pals, Paul McGrotty, he's actually stood near the centre circle next to Gordon Strachan. So we're just like, it's just mental. And they put us back in. The stewards put us back in. It weren't until like we actually got the police that they ended up putting us back into the Villa fans. But when we got out there, it was literally on your toes, and we were running. I mean, running all over the gaff. So yeah, that's
doing your hundreds.
We've got at Ross Thorpe. That picture that we obviously put on for this
shocking by the way.
Was that
it's the best quality one I could find. I didn't want to do any bad ones.
What quality was? What decade was the picture, and what Botox are you using?
The picture was, I think, about 12 years ago. No, about 10 years ago. And there's no Botox. It's just the love of a good woman. That's it. That's why I look so young.
Great answer. You got yourself back in there with your missus. What is your best assets as a manager?
My honesty. So don't tell.
But sometimes, do you find, Neil? Sometimes honesty comes across in a different manner and a different way. You know, with the young lads now. You know,
Yeah,
honesty is it can be quite brutal, can't it? Honesty.
Yeah. I've always said, you know, what I mean, my players, whoever they play, they will always go on, and they might say, you know, what I mean, at the end of their career, they might say, well, who was the best manager you played for? And you know, what I mean, it doesn't bother me that if I'm not on the top of that list. But if they ever said who was the most honest, you know, what I mean, that's where I'd want to be, because I'd never want to, you know, what I mean, if I've always made, because I wasn't a very good player, I got left out a lot. You know what I mean? I was on the bench a lot, and I never got told why, so I could never work on it. I didn't know why I wasn't playing, and so I always said that when I got into management, I would always, if a player's not playing, I'd always give him a reason. The player might walk away thinking, I'm not buying that, don't believe you, but they'd always have a reason, if they believe it or not. But I've always told them my reasons. So I've always been honest with them.
Another good answer, mate. If you had to go in a boxing ring with a current non-league manager, who would it be?
Oh, they would get a name drop here. We get a name drop.
Oh God.
It can be for charity, obviously.
Liam McDonald.
Oh, is that the Rushall manager?
Yeah, can't stand him. Love nothing more than love nothing more than to punch his head in. But
get it set up. Get it set up.
You wouldn't have to do it for charity either. I'd do it for free.
What is it like a mutual thing, or is it just?
Oh yeah, he don't like me either. He don't like me. He wouldn't fight me. Then? He wouldn't fight me. Definitely wouldn't fight me. But yeah, it's a mutual thing. We don't like each other. But hey, move on.
How's that come about then?
He's just a twat. Simple as. He's a liar. He's a backstabber. He approaches your players. He couldn't lie straight in bed. But there you go.
I'm trying to imagine him now, and I'm just imagining Randall from Recess.
To be fair, it's a unit like you, don't it? Well, I'm a midget, but
mate, listen. Credit where it's due. You know what I mean? Football-wise, manager-wise, doing a fantastic job. You know what I mean? At a great club. So you know what I mean? Credit where it's due. He is probably one of the best managers in the non-league scene in the Midlands at the moment. You know what I mean? It's not about that. It's just about the way that he goes about it, and I've just never taken to him. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. If you had, and this is non-league players or managers, you've got 5 people to invite on a desert island. What 5 would you take and why?
Oh God, from non-league.
Yeah. Who you've managed, who you played with.
I'd take Jono from Salford.
Yeah.
Because he's funny. I'd take Peter Duffield. And I'd take my 2. Oh God. Actually, no, cancel all that. I'd just be boring, and I'd just take all my staff with me because they're loyal and they're my staff.
There you go.
And they deserve the break coming on the desert island with me. So there you go.
Last one from me then. What is the worst excuse that you've heard for someone not turning up for training?
Oh God, they're all bad. They're all bad. I can't get anyone to look after my little sister was the latest one. But Nan's birthdays. Listen, the best one, the work that, and I'm 46 now, but the amount of footballers now that their missuses book them surprise holidays away is phenomenal. And it's always at the same time of year as well. Christmas, birthdays, half term.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the one that I hate. My missus has booked a holiday that I didn't know about. Bullshit. My missus never booked anything I didn't know about. Yeah, absolute crap.
Matt, over to you then, mate. I think you got 3, haven't you?
I've just got one. You know, I brought this segment into a podcast I run for Hull City. I host, for Hull City, and I call it Tackle Fight Night. Now, you've probably heard of Shag, Marry, Cruise. It's a little bit similar. So I'm going to name 3 footballers, and they're going to be the sort of players that you'd come up against, like a centre forward with being a centre back. I want you've got to take a tackle off one. 2-footed tackle, biggest tackle they can give you. Okay. Second one is fight. You've got to fight one of them, and then the third one is you go on a night out with them. Okay. The 3 players I'm giving you: Diego Costa, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Duncan Ferguson.
Oof.
Jesus Christ.
Oh. You don't want to fight Big Dunk, surely.
I'd take the tackle from Zlatan.
Yeah.
It's probably an elbow. Let's be realistic.
Well, yeah, but he's, you know what I mean, continental. It ain't going to be. I mean, it ain't going to be too bad.
My money's on you to batter him anyway, Neil. To be fair.
Yeah, I'd go out on a night out with Big Dunk, and I'd scrap Costa because he's just he's not. He's all bravado.
He's naughty.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to fight Big Dunk. I wouldn't want to fight Zlatan either because he's a martial arts expert, so yeah.
He's a unit, isn't he?
Oh, I've seen it. He can get his legs in some weird places, can't he? On some of these videos I've seen back.
Yeah.
That sounds dodgy. But yeah, that concludes everything. It's absolutely been a pleasure having you on, Neil. We took a long time out of your night, and we really appreciate that.
But no, I do. It's been enjoyable. Thanks for having me on board.
It's a great insight.
Brilliant. Absolutely superb, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Take care, mate. I'll speak to you soon, yeah?
Cheers, guys.
Take care.